Hi, I'm Mariah and I'm the children's pastor at our Lake Stevens campus. Thanks so much for joining us online today. If this is your first time checking us out, welcome. We're so excited that you're here and we would love to get to know you better. Text Gold Creek to the number there on your screen and someone from our Connections team will contact you so that we can meet you. Also, if you call Gold Creek your home already, we are so grateful for you. We cannot have church without you. For your time, for your resources, for all of the energy that you give to our church, thank you so much. And if you're looking for an opportunity to get more involved by giving, text GC Lake Stevens to the number on your screen right now. Enjoy service.
Surrounding me, let it break. Let your name still call the sea to still, the raging me to still every way. At your name, Jesus, Jesus, you make the darkness tremble. Jesus, Jesus, silence fear. Jesus, Jesus, you make the darkness tremble. Jesus, Jesus, breathe, call these bones to live, call these lungs to sing once again. Whoa, I will praise Jesus, Jesus, you make the darkness tremble. Jesus, Jesus, you silence fear. Jesus, Jesus, you make the darkness tremble. Jesus, Jesus, you sing again. Jesus, Jesus, you make the darkness tremble. Jesus, Jesus, silence fear. Jesus, Jesus, you make the darkness tremble. Jesus, Jesus, your name is a light that the shadows can't deny. Your name cannot be overcome. Your name is a light forever lifted high. Your name cannot be overcome. Jesus, Jesus, you make the darkness tremble. Jesus, Jesus, silence fear. Jesus, Jesus, you make the darkness tremble. Jesus, Jesus. To quiet our feet today, would you quiet our feet right now? Jesus, your name is a light that the shadows can't deny. Your name cannot be overcome. Your name is a light forever lifted high. Your name cannot be overcome. Your name is a light that the shadows can't deny. Your name cannot be overcome.
Good morning, welcome church. Real quick announcement before I kind of jump into the message. We are close with our Semble investment for purchasing the property. I wanted to give you a quick update. We are within 100,000 of our goal. So if you've been just waiting to come in at the last moment and swoop in and provide the rest, here's your opportunity. Or if you know someone that their name just popped into your head, it happens all the time. Just this week, someone said, oh, you know what? I have a friend who actually has been thinking about investing somewhere, so I'm going to go talk to him. I've been talking about this for 4 months, and it just popped into their head, so I understand inspiration sometimes hits at the most opportune times. So if you would like to invest into the LLC, the link will pop up here, at least in the comment section. Please connect with us, contact with us. We want to purchase this land. We want to build on this land. You guys know this. We want to be an impact in the city of Lake Stevens. So with that being said, let's jump into Separation of Church and Hate week 3. We have been boiling things every single week. This week is no exception. The first week we talked about free to love, and we deep fried Oreos. I love Oreos. Last week we talked about free to hate. I deep fried a crab rangoon because I can't stand crab, but for some reason a crab rangoon I can do. This week we are talking about free to give, but before we do, we have to fry something. So we are going to fry some Oreos. If you've never had a deep fried Oreo, well, you're still not going to be able to because you're online, but you can try this at home. You don't even need a deep fryer. You just need a lot of oil in a little pot, some pancake batter, and an Oreo, and you can do this yourself. So while that's happening, the reason we're doing this, the Apostle John, he was boiled. That's the legend. It's supposedly they wanted to martyr him, and they hated him so much that they boiled him in oil. I mean, think about an awful way to die. That's an awful way to die, to literally boil alive. But it didn't work. He didn't die. He came out of this, and he ended up being the longest living disciple by far. He was over 90 years old. And when he wrote this, he was in his 90s, and he wanted to leave his wisdom, so to speak, so that we know how to follow Christ better from what he has experienced. So as he was talking, and as he was reflecting on his life, he realized that we need to have freedom to give. Uh-oh, they're stuck to the bottom of the pan here. Let's see if I can do this a little. I've never had this happen before. There we go. Okay. Let's pull that one out. I'm going to take that one out. This is just extra batter. This one's stuck too. That's a fun one. Please don't squirt me in the face. Okay, there we go. So there's the Oreos here, and then you can top it with a little powdered sugar. I'm gonna do a little caramel sauce, a little drizzle on there, and voila, there you have it. Look at that thing. That looks delicious. I'm not gonna eat it right now because I can't preach and eat at the same time, but I will have one later. It is so good. That is so sweet. That is so good. You boil this thing in this 375, 400 degree oil, and you take this oil that is so hot and can be destructive, and you put this Oreo in, and it comes out so delicious. Trust me, it is so good. That Oreo cream in the middle gets soft and melty, and of course there's the chocolate and the batter, and then with the caramel mix, holy cow, if you want to get crazy, throw some lemon zest on top of that for a little tart action. Boom. It is so good. But when we talk about being free to give, hate and love can feel the same way. We both give and receive hate. We both give and receive love. We do it every single day. We do it with the people we love the most. We throw hate at them. There's a reason we do that, because where you feel hate and where you feel love is in the exact same spot of your brain. We talked about this last week. It's right there. These emotions, they're both high. You're aggressive, either passionately, or you're aggressive in that you want to hit them physically or verbally. When you love someone deeply, you can tend to hate them deeply as well too. There's a reason. It's in the same spot. And if things don't turn out the way that you hoped, it can destroy you. It hurts. But there is something that we can do. When we're talking about free to give, John could have came out bitter. I was boiled. I was banished. I was persecuted. I was beaten. I was unfairly prisoned. All these things he can list off, and he can just stew in that bitterness, stew in that oil, and come out just crusty and gross, like a lot of these little pancake batter mixes that don't quite make it out. But he didn't. He came out sweet, and he encouraged us to love each other even when we don't want to, because he did it, because he modeled himself after Jesus, who did it. You got to remember, Jesus wasn't the most popular guy when he walked this earth. Even today, he's not the most popular guy. He was hated to the point of execution. That's how much people hated him. So let's dive in to the master of the person who loved even while being hated. In John chapter 3, verse 1, it says this, "See how very much our Father loves us, for he calls us his children. That is what we are. But the people who belong to this world don't recognize that they are God's children because they don't know him." I feel like this verse is super appropriate right now because we're in a time where we have to wear masks everywhere we go. We have a tough time recognizing just each other. It's so crazy. I mean, I was just at a store and I recognized the children. I didn't see the parent anywhere, but I recognized the children, and they were a little bit older. They were older elementary, 5th grade. And I waved to them and I said, "Hey," and they just kind of looked at me like, "Hey, there's a stranger in the store saying hi to me, Mom," and they're kind of looking around, and I realized that I was wearing a hat and my mask, so you could only see my eyes. And I realized right in that moment, I was like, "Oh, I'm that creepy stranger dude that's just randomly waving at children." So I took off my hat and I pulled down my mask. I was like, "It's Pastor James." And then they were like, "Oh, Pastor James." And everything was fine. But they didn't recognize me, and rightfully so. We're in that time right now. This verse says that we recognize, God calls us to be his children, but the people who belong to this world don't recognize that because they don't know God. It's like there's a mask that they can't see past. And if they can just find a way, it will open up so much, that recognition that, "Oh, yes, I know you. You're a part of my life. I recognize this. We are his kids. Our Father loves us." Oh, I love this part. Have you ever said this statement? "I am never going to be like my parents, mom, dad." Have you ever said that? Have you ever, as growing up, you thought, "Oh, I'm never going to be like this. Oh, that is so annoying. I'm never going to wear a fanny pack. Oh, man, I'm never going to wear this or that." Have you ever said those things? I know that I have, and I've noticed that as I get older, I have become more and more like my parents. And some of it is just hilarious. For example, my dad used to make sound effects whenever he would just be walking around. Like it didn't relate to anything he was doing. He would be, opening a soda, and he would just make like noises. And he would walk around and whistle to himself, and he would click, and I never understood that. And I remember just sitting on the couch going, "What is my dad doing?" And I would ask him, "Dad, why are you making those noises?" He's like, "I'm not making any noises." Okay. And it never dawned on me why he was doing it. I still have no idea. And I just found myself just a few years ago doing the same thing. I was in the garage picking up tools, and I'm making random clicking sounds. I'm like, what am I doing? Oh no, I'm become my father. And you start coming to these realizations that, as I get older, you start patterning yourself, and the learned behavior that you've repressed has now come out. Now, there's some good stuff as well, too. I've also become my mother. She's very patient. She doesn't flip her lid often. She doesn't get angry very easy. And I've noticed that is me as well, too. So there are good things, there are bad things, there are annoying things that you will pick up as you get older. But I found, even now as a parent, I love when I'm sitting on the couch or I'm sitting in the chair, and my littles, I call them my littles because I have my biggers, and then I have my littles, will come and they will just want to sit in my lap and just want to snuggle for a minute. And it's not very long. It's usually only about a minute or two, unless I'm playing something on my phone. Then they want to play, so that could be longer. But I've noticed that those times are so special, and my littles time is disappearing, because I used to have 4 littles, and now I have 2 littles, and soon it's going to be 1 little, and then it's going to be no littles. So with each opportunity that I have, when they come and sit in my lap, I breathe it in. And like Braylee just did it this week, and she just laid on my chest, and she just played with the back of my head, and she just kind of just laid there and breathed in her father. And I love those moments, because it reminds me how personal Jesus made our connection to God, our Father in heaven. It reminds me that before all of this, before Jesus, it was about laws. It was about the Holy of Holies. It was about atonement and ceremony and priests and all of these things. It was this huge gap and separation. And then Jesus came and he tore the separation away, literally tore it away. It said that the Holy of Holies, the separating tent, was torn from top to bottom when Jesus died for us. That separation is gone. No more space between you and God. No more space between me and God. We now have this ability, you and I, to crawl into God's lap, to lay our head down in his chest, to breathe him in, to be in his presence because of Jesus and because of the love that he has for us and because of how much, even though he was hated, he loved humanity so much that he died for us. But there's a catch. There's always a catch. Verse 4, everyone who sins is breaking God's law, for all sin is contrary to the law of God. And you know that Jesus came to take away our sins, and there is no sin in him. Free from sin, that is what Jesus did. He freed us from sin. But do you ever wonder what sin is? Have you ever really asked yourself that question? How do you define sin? Do you know? It's a line. This is how I try to describe it. It's a line that you cross. Some people have said, well, if you just think it and you don't do it, it's not a sin. I disagree. I completely disagree. You can do a lot of things in your mind that is definitely sinful. I believe that sin becomes a sin when you cross a line, when there is a definitive, you have gone from, ooh, should I do this, to dwelling on it? Should I do this, to actually doing it? Should I do this, to creating a full-on story and narrative in your head? These are things that cross that line. Physically, if I were to explain it in a very simple term, if you were to go to the store and you bought your groceries and you were trying to buy a pack of gum and your pack of gum somehow did not get paid for, maybe you held it in your hand by accident, maybe it just got swooped in with all your other bags, and then you realize once you get out of the store that you still have not paid for this pack of gum. Here is your line at this point. Do you just continue to go to the car and say, oh, it's their mistake, boom, I got a free pack of gum? Or do you go back in and pay for this item that you technically stole? That's that line. That's the line that you cross. My dad did this once, not stole a pack of gum, but he was given too much change. It was like $2. It was so little, so minute. And he was given too much change. He's getting ready to, sometimes if you're in a hurry, you just grab everything and you go, and pulled his receipt back out of his pocket and he's putting his money away and he's like, oh no, they gave me $2 too much. And he looked at myself, and my brother was in the car, and he says, get up, let's go back in the store. I got to give them back their change. And I said, Dad, it's just $2. He's like, yeah, but it doesn't belong to me. And he walked back in, and in that moment, when I was 8 years old, he modeled to me that there's a line that you should not cross. As simple as it is, it's the simple lines that are easy to cross, but once you can perfect those, the harder lines become easier. You have to start that habit now. God slowly teaches us to live differently with every life experience, with every moment that you have, with mistakes and with triumphs. God teaches you to live differently. You may not believe this, but I was a very vengeful, angry person for a long time in my life, and I had to figure out a way to live differently because that did not reflect who Jesus was in me. So through time and through messing up relationships and through saying I'm sorry, I've had to learn to get rid of vengeance, anger, fear. Fear was a big one. I would not do something because I was afraid of failing. Well, if that was the reason why, Jesus stopped coming to, if he held that same fear of failure, he never would have came to earth, right? Like, well, I don't want to die. I don't want to be tortured. We know from his last times on this earth that he struggled with this. God, please just take this cup of suffering. I don't want to do this. We cannot let fear stop us. He is at work in us. And the more that I live in him, the more that I draw into his lap, into his presence, the more that I seek God, the less I will sin. And it makes absolute sense, because let's just picture two sides to a fulcrum. God on one side, sin on the other. The closer you get to God, the further you are from sin. It is just physics, right? You're closer to point A than you are to point B if you're in the middle. So why wouldn't it make sense that if you draw close to God, you draw away from sin? That's how you master this. That's how you become free from sin. Let's keep going here. We don't want to spend our entire message here, even though I could. Verse 11, this is the message you have heard from the beginning. We should love one another. This is from the beginning, free to love. When he talks about free to give, free to love is a part of it. Because, here's why. Jesus talked about loving each other over and over and over again, to the point that his disciples, when they wrote their letters to the churches and to the other disciples that they were discipling, they said the same stuff. Love God, love each other, over and over again. Why? Because it's important. Those are the things that we take with us eternally. I talked about this last week, the eternal perspective. Not what you gain, not your status, not what they write on your tombstone, but the people and the lives that you impact. That is why he talks about this. And when you look at it, when you read John's letters here, you got to realize that he was one of 12 guys that Jesus brought together that made 0 sense. They made 0 sense. I mean, talk about zealots and rough guys. Jesus had tax collectors in his party, like in his discipleship group. He had thieves. He knew about Judas, but yet he still left him in charge of the money. He had thieves in his group. He had the John and his brother. They were called the sons of Zebedee, the sons of thunder. They were known to be rough and fighters. He had these on-edge, burly dudes. He had quiet guys. He had people that were outspoken when they should have been quiet, like Peter. He had engineers, he had fishermen. He had just a messy collection of this. And if you were to look at it, and they probably did, the people around him were like, how are these guys Jesus' guys? There is no way that they're ever going to get along for long enough for Jesus to impact this world. And they were probably saying things like, there's no way, Jesus, that you can get these collection of guys to change and to love people the way that you love people. And I just imagine Jesus standing there hearing this going, here, all right, hold my wine, watch this. And he just goes and says, you're going to see something amazing. And if he can do it, we can do it. And if these guys can do it, you and I can do it. Thieves, terrible people, the fighters, they cursed all the time. They were just rough and tumble guys. These guys became a collection of men that loved deeply. They loved deeply. And we all have to understand that there is a moment in our lives where we're going to have a line to cross between love and hate. And God is going to be whispering. God is going to be screaming. God is going to be pushing. He's going to be pulling and saying, choose love. Choose love. Let's keep going. Verse 12. We must not be like Cain, who belonged to the evil one and killed his brother. Why did he kill him? Because Cain had been doing what was evil and his brother had been doing what was righteous. Don't be surprised, dear brothers and sisters, if the world hates you. Free to be hated. You're going to be hated. Why? I don't know. Maybe it's because we expose a way of life that is not healthy. Maybe it's because we sound judgmental to them, which we probably do, and we probably deserve that. Maybe it's because it feels impossible to overcome something. I don't know. And sometimes maybe it feels like we aren't fun. You know, oh, you guys are Christians. Oh, I'm so sad for you. You guys don't have fun anymore, huh? You just sit around all day and read the Bible and pray and stuff, huh? That's all you do, huh? Those are actual things that people have said to me. I'm like, no, that's not all I do. I mean, think about it. We believe that Jesus is our way to salvation. Let's talk about just basic theology. He's our way to salvation, not just being a good person, not doing a couple good deeds, not letting someone just cut in front of line in front of you, which those are good things. Not just giving all your money, some of your money, parts of your money, enough of your money, not giving your time to just serve in the church. Those are all great things, but those are not what the Bible says will bring you salvation. The Bible says, believe He is God, believe that He died and rose again, and you will be saved. That is it. That is how you are saved. That is how life change should happen, that you believe that Jesus is who He says He is, He did what He said He was going to do, and that He is going to change your life, and you're surrendering your life to Him. That is salvation. Now, when you look at it in that way, there's a lot of interpretation for reality here, that your perception of what I just said could be so different. And when we're talking about reality, what you perceive is your reality. It doesn't matter if there's truth that combats it. If you believe with everything inside of you that a blank, whatever you want to talk about, is your reality, then that is your reality because that is how you perceive it. For example, and I'm going to get a lot of flack for this one, I don't believe that Neil Armstrong landed on the moon. I just don't. It's been a conspiracy theory for decades, but I think that the government and NASA faced some pressure because the Russians were closer than the Americans to landing on the moon. So they said, let's go to Hollywood and let's just do it on a soundstage. That's just my personal belief. That's my perception of what happened. I think eventually we landed on the moon, but I think to say that we did it first, they did it in Hollywood. Now, I could be wrong. No one's going to know for sure, and hopefully the FBI doesn't knock on my door and say, you need to stop saying that kind of stuff. I don't know. But that's my perception, and that's a silly one, I know. But that's my perception, so for me, that could be my reality. What you believe is your reality. So when we're talking about free to being hated, people have a perception of Christians, of you. And a lot of it is deserved because of the way we have attacked people. And some of it is unfair because we didn't attack everyone. But that perception is still there. So you have to find ways to push through and show them this is not who everyone is. This is not who I am. You can't change the people around you, but you can change yourself and show them the reality of what Christ and life change can do. Show them your life. Verse 16, we know what real love is because Jesus gave up his life for us, so we also ought to give up our lives for our brothers and sisters. Dear children, let's not merely say that we love each other. Let us show the truth by our actions. He says actions twice now. Oh, here it is again. Our actions. Number 3 will show that we belong to the truth so that we will be confident when we stand before God. Love gives. That's what real love is. It gives. It gives to each other, to marriage, to parenthood, to friendship, to work relationships, to your neighbors. We should be giving our lives like we share these Oreos and these fried foods every single week. We should be offering our lives to people. Now, disclaimer, don't do it and don't be creepy. Don't go to someone and say, how can I die for you today? That's just weird. That's just creepy. Don't say it like that, right? You don't want to turn them off. Do something different. Say things like, how can I help you today? How can I pray for you today? How can I just serve you today? Is there something I can do for you? Can I help you with whatever it is? And be specific. There are 5 love languages, and I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time because we don't have a whole lot of time. There's one that's physical touch. People express and give love through touch, through hugs and things like that. One is words of encouragement or words of affirmation. Acts of service. Gifts, we express and give love by things that we give, and spending quality time. Those are the 5 basic love languages that every person feels either gives or receives. Now, you have to be careful with that because one time someone heard that one of my love languages is physical touch, but my physical touch is very specific to my wife. So I had a dude that came up and he just started like giving me a back rub, and you know, he couldn't sense the fact that I got all tense. And he's like, "Oh, you're all tense." I'm like, "Yeah, dude, because you're rubbing my back. This is weird." And then he gave me a hug for like 45 seconds, which if you don't think that that's like a long time, that's a really long time to hug someone that you don't want to hug. 45 seconds. I was waiting for Jesus to come back in that moment. It was really, really bizarre. But they were trying. They were trying, and I had to tell them, hey, yo, my love language, the physical touch one, that's mostly for my wife. Back rubs, hugs, that kind of stuff, that's where I appreciate it. With like other dudes, let's do words of affirmation, maybe a high five quality time. Let's spend some time together. I will serve you, you serve me, and it's different. But we find ways to connect. We have to meet them at their level. That's the thing too, is he was trying to meet or to show love by having me meet him at his level. When that didn't work, we have to meet them at their level. Real love meets them where they are. It doesn't make them have pre-qualifications or you have to meet these standards before I can love you. It means just going to them. If they're on their knees, you drop to your knees and you love them on your knees. That's what real love is, because this is the last verse in verse 23, and this is his commandment. We must believe in the name of his son, Jesus. Love one another just as he commanded. There's the first 2 greatest commandments right there, repeated again. Love God, that's the Son. Love each other. He just says it over and over again. Free to love, free to give. That means we love God and we love each other. That's it. So what I'm going to do right now is to close, is I'm going to offer us a chance to love God and love each other. First thing I want to do is love God. If you've never given your life to God, If you've never given even a thought to following Jesus full time, and you're listening today, and you've been just kind of wondering what this Christianity thing is all about, and here's your opportunity right now. And God is speaking to you. And he is saying, I want you to come follow me. I want you to love me. I want you to believe that Jesus is who he says he is. I want you to surrender your life and allow freedom and allow God's love to explode inside of you. If you want to experience that, if you want to experience what it's like to be a Christ follower, here's your chance. I want you to text, I'm in. That's it. Just text, I'm in. And someone else will connect with you today, either myself or Mariah or someone else on staff. We will connect with you and we will walk with you and we will pray with you and we will let your life change from this moment. And I'm so excited to walk with you on that if that's the decision that you're making right now. Love God. Now, some of you have been turning away from God and you need to turn back to God. Here's your chance as well too. Turn back to God. He is saying, I'm here. I've never left. Come sit in my lap. Come breathe me in. Spend some time with me. And he is convicting you to do that right now. And at the end of this message, you may just need to spend some time, just you and God alone. Just praying, just listening, maybe weeping, I don't know. But spend some time with God. And then the third thing is love each other. This is what I want you guys to do. And this might be awkward or this might be fun for you. Everyone has a phone. I'm going to ask you to pull out your phone. You have your phone? I want you to pull up your text messages and I want you to just pick someone random. I don't know who is in your phone right now. I don't know who's in your heart. Maybe it's the first person that pops up because we all have a string of messages that pop up. Maybe it's the first person that pops up. And I want you to just pick someone right now in your feed that you just feel like you need to encourage in this moment, that you need to show love to, that you need to give love to. It might be someone that there's tension with. If so, rebuild, reconcile, start that first step. Maybe it's a family member or a friend that you just need to reach out and say, hey, I want to reconnect. I know that there's some tension, let's fix it. Or it could just be someone that you feel like, I just want to pray for this person right now. Here's your chance. Pull that name up, send them a text right now. I'm thinking about you, I'm praying for you, I love you, whatever it is, I don't know who this person is. And send them a message of encouragement and of hope. And do it now. Don't do it later. Oh, I'll do it later when I'm eating lunch. Do it right now because you will not do it later. And if you want, do it numerous times. Go through all of them. There's no cap on encouragement. Encourage as many people as you want. But here's your chance to love someone else. So I want to encourage you to do that. I'm going to pray for you and then we're going to be done. Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for all that you do. I pray for those that made a decision today to follow you for the first time that says, I am in. God, I just praise you so much for them. I pray for those that need to turn back to you right now, that they just spend some time just doing some business with you, just getting it out, just laying before you, just breathing you in. And I pray for realness and authenticity in them right now. And then I pray for our encouragement. I pray that every person watching right now spends some time just encouraging each other and telling each other how much they love them. And I ask for these things in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you guys again for being here, for being online. We're excited to be here. Hopefully, the plan is if we can get some good internet, we're going to try to do all of this live, but we're still working on that. Just hold tight. I know some of you guys have been asking, so I wanted to give you that update. Miss you guys, love you guys, and I'll see you next time.
yourself away. So the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. I was your fault, still your love fought for me. 'Cause you have been so good to me. I found no worth, you paid it all for me. 'Cause you have been so kind to me. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. So it chases me down, finds till I'm found, leaves at 99. And I couldn't earn it, and I don't deserve it, and still you give yourself away. So the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God, So shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. 'Cause all the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. 'Cause all it chases me down, finds till I'm found, leaves at 99. 'Cause I couldn't earn it, and I don't deserve it, and still you give yourself away. 'Cause all the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God,
Thanks so much for joining us today. To make sure that you stay up to date with everything happening at Gold Creek, check out our website, goldcreek.org, follow us on all of our social media platforms, and make sure you download the app onto your phone. Have a great week, and we'll see you next time.